And here we are back again, Hastings County Sasquatch, our third attempt at a podcast or a field report, if you will. And we're back online with D as promised. We're going to listen to his experience, his first encounter with the Sasquatch or Bigfoot, whatever you want to call him. Welcome, Mr. D. How are you?
Oh, well, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm doing fine. I'm just excited to tell my experiences and explain why I started this whole page anyway. So
yeah, it was kind of neat because we met up with, what was it, about a year ago? We met up for a couple of beers.
I think it was February. February 2020. You had said, "Is this page still active?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm sorry, I just haven't posted in a while. There's not much to post." And I'm hoping it's because people are tight-lipped about what they see or heard even. But
there's always the ridicule thing that everybody's afraid of and everything. But you know what? They're not alone. There's thousands of other people that have seen it. And if you actually do the research, and there's other podcasts out there, what are the chances of like thousands of people having the same delusion?
Probably not much.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially, I want to make sure I'm not crazy, and I'm sure you feel like you're not too. And
well, obviously I'm totally crazy because I've seen them like 2 times.
Mm-hmm. And I've seen one for sure the first time, and we'll get into that now. And I may have seen it another 3 times. Excuse me.
Yeah. So,
total of 4.
Let's move on into that. Like, you were a young kid when you first laid eyes on one of these creatures, right? Why don't you just walk us into what happened? What were you guys doing that day?
Well, it's funny because one of the first reports I put on here, maybe I'll scroll down and see if I can find it on Hastings County Sasquatch. It's here. It's your first interview that you did with the young lady up by Bolter, Ontario, or up in Bolter.
Yeah, which I thought was pretty interesting because you told me about your first encounter up in the Bolter area, and lo and behold, I think I did it with Google Earth. It was like 7 kilometers from your first sighting, and you gave me the location. I drove up there, took some snapshots, and I uploaded it to your site there, and you posted it there.
And that picture is posted on July 30th, 2020. That picture is there. It's where we used to toboggan down that road. And,
7 kilometers.
I don't know how many times.
7 kilometers north of that road that you tobogganed down as a kid. That young lady seen one, like, on the other side of the road. But yeah, if you guys want to find out more about it, just scroll back on the Hastings County Sasquatch. You'll be able to hear that interview. And unfortunately, it wasn't a really long interview. I think we're in the middle of a party or something, so I had like 5 or 10 minutes of her time, and that was about it. And the crowds were getting bigger, and we couldn't really conduct an interview, but we got the gist of it.
Yeah,
but
that was posted on August the 12th last year, 2020.
Yeah.
And, so I'll go into it, I guess.
So what happened?
It was a summertime visit up to the hunting cabin and up in Bolter, Ontario, and my dad and his best friend who owned the place. We used to go up there right through the late 70s, and the last time I was up there was in New Year's of 82, 83. And it was 1978, and our moms used to take us kids. There was 4 of us boys out for a walk, and we'd walk to the north down that same hill, and then if you go, I don't know, another kilometer or so, it drops down again. It's on an escarpment or on a big hill. And we used to go down to this old farm that was run down, and nobody lived there. There was gooseberries growing all over the place, and mothers used to take us for a walk. And along the way back, the one time, me and the well, I was the youngest of the four boys. Like, we were a year apart each. So me, then the next boy of the other family. Then my brother was the next oldest, and then the oldest kid was about 2.5 years older. Like, we were all separated by about a year and a half. And me and the youngest boy, that was a year older than me, ran ahead. And we were coming back up the hill. We got up the first hill, and we hid in the woods, and so that the mums could go by with our older brothers. And pardon me. And they went by so we got back out on the road. They didn't seem to be looking for us. So we got back out on the road. We were walking up to that first hill where we used to toboggan down, in the photo, and you could see my dad's best friend, my other friend's stepdad. He's coming toward us in the Jimmy. He went to pick us up. He was coming to pick us up. No, so that's what he did.
I don't want to interrupt you there, but I'm just wondering what time of the year was this?
It was summertime.
Summertime, okay.
Yeah, and we were coming back up that hill. He picked us up in the Jimmy, and I remember being there's two seats in the Jimmy, and I was standing in the middle with my arms on the seats, my forearms on the seats. And as we were coming up that hill, this hairy thing walked across the road in front of us, and I was looking at its eyes, eye contact. Its eyes looked like our eyes. It didn't have black eyes like in the Todd Standing videos and footage. And it looked at us, showed its teeth, like, and then stepped again, showed its teeth again, and then went back and went across the road from our left to the right into the woods. So it was going west. And the kid next to me, I almost said his name there. He said, "What the hell was that?" Now, we weren't allowed to say hell as kids at my house, so I expected him to be reprimanded by my dad's best friend there, his stepdad. But he didn't say a word. And that was it. There was no other talk of it. That memory resurfaced after my experiences. So I was like, "Oh yeah, I remember that." And incidentally, the young boy that was with me, he, of course, we're all grown up now, but he's actually hope to see him this summer, because I asked to talk to him. He's a police officer now, and I wanted to see if he remembered.
Interesting, eh? So, yeah. This thing flipped its lip up at you? Like, did you see the top and bottom teeth? Or?
Yeah, you see the top and bottom teeth. Just seemed like it was like sucking in air, like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you pull your mouth open and you suck in air, and it just showed its teeth and went into the woods.
So did it look pissed off at you guys, or like?
A little bit, yeah. It wasn't. How tall was it? Let me think. It was probably about the height of the truck, maybe a little taller. The Jimmy that we were in.
So how tall would that be? Would you guess?
6 feet. It wouldn't have been more than that. Okay. About 6 feet.
No.
So that was.
What color was it?
Brown, black. Different colors. If not all black, it was. Again, memory's a hard thing, right? So, 1978, I was 5 years old, and yeah, this thing walked across the road right in front of us. But it was probably about 30, 40 feet, no, 30 feet, not more than that, in front of the vehicle. It was not even that. It was close.
But yeah, 20 feet. But you still remember it like it was yesterday, I bet.
Yeah, I still have it in my head. So
that's interesting.
Again, that memory resurfaced after going and after some experiences back in 2004, and I was, just started to get fascinated with the Sasquatch phenomenon and the possibilities of it, and then started to read from there on all kinds of websites. So
now going back to that first that first sighting of it crossing the road in front of you, it was like, what was the main characteristics of it that sort of stuck in your mind that that you remember? Like, did you see, like, as far as the body, or was it swinging his arms?
Well, I saw the whole thing. Yeah, well, it wasn't swinging its arms. It's the way they say Patty was. Like, it seemed to be going quick. Like, it wasn't taking, like, oh, it's 2 steps across the road. It wasn't like that. It was like 3 or 4, or 4 or 5.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a wide road, and it was dark in color. His hair seemed messy. There was a kid that lived down the road from me growing up, and his hair was always messy, so I always kind of thought it was like that kid's hair.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say his name, but it seemed like this. I don't remember there being any breasts or anything on it. Although to me, in my mind, it was a female.
Oh, okay.
So it just seemed like a female face. So
really?
That's
good. Like, what color was the skin, or was there skin, or was it like totally hair covered right from?
Well, all around its face area, there you could see the skin, and it seemed to be lighter in color, like not as white as we are, but in between, maybe beige type.
Okay.
So you could see around the eyes and on the face, you could see some skin,
But you say
wow.
You say you could see the whites around its eyes.
Yeah, you could see the iris, the pupils in the iris, not the pupils, but the irises around the eyes, and you could. Yeah, it didn't have black eyes, not black eyes at all. So.
Yeah, because most common, I guess, descriptions or sighting reports indicate like it was all they see is like black or brown eyes or anything, but yours was a little different.
That's what I remember, but moving on from there, I guess if I go in order from weird experiences in terms of before I saw anything again, I was my neighbor's property in Thurlow Township. He has a farm, and like our property goes back 46 acres, and his is.
Before we go further, that sighting you just had up in Bolter when you were a kid.
Okay.
Now going back to Thurlow Township, like you're saying, what's the kilometer distance or mile distance as far as distances?
Oh God, you're going up to. Okay, we're not too far from Belleville. I don't want to say the exact spot, but it would probably take us an hour and a half to get up to. Well, we drive up 62 to Bancroft,
okay,
and then we hang a right to the east. MacArthur's Mills. I was never driving, sort of.
Yeah, I gotcha.
And we'd go up the Bolter Highway, and I don't care. I mean, I don't live there now, and I hate to be insensitive, but it was, you go to the Bolter store, and it was left before the Bolter store, so you're going to the west. I think it's called Duro Road. I should have been prepared. Duro Road and Ashley, and the cottage was there, the little shed, it's not a shed, but it was like a 2-bedroom hunting cabin with multiple bunks in it. And our parents used to take us up there for vacations and just to get up to the woods. We'd cross-country skied up there all the time in the winter. Anyway, it was that road going north. I believe it was Ashley. It drops down twice. And on that first drop down on the hill, which is in the photo on Hastings County Sasquatch that you provided, that's where we used to toboggan in the wintertime.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, how far is it? Oh, God. It's a drive. It's a drive. I would estimate it to be an hour and a half to drive up there.
Yeah, that's a pretty good distance. So yeah, going into your second sighting now.
Well, it wasn't a second sighting. It was on. I never really thought too much about Sasquatch. Again, if you listen to the last podcast,
okay,
I was always a UFO guy. I like that stuff. I always watched TV of anything UFO. Sightings was a TV show I used to watch back in the early 90s. And I used to, for fitness, run back on, there was a joining trails and stuff on our property over to the neighbor's area, and I used to run up his laneway and come back. And on the third time I ever did it, and funny enough, I was running with 5-pound ankle weights and 5-pound wrist weights on me. I'd been coming back, and I got to out of the fields and into the closed-in area where the trees were on either side of the road. And it's a single-lane road. And to my west, as I'm running south, I'm hearing crashing through the woods, like limbs breaking, crashing, snapping. Just. So I stopped and looked, like, what the hell is that? And then it stopped. So I was like, okay, well, I'm hearing things. And I started running again. Well, then I hear it pick up again. I started running and smashing, crashing through the woods. So I was like, holy. I stopped again, and I was like, it stopped again. I was like, what the hell? So I was like, okay, well, and I wasn't doing any drugs or drinking or anything. I was like, what the hell? Oh, okay, I'm hearing things.
Sounds like you're working out.
So I was just working out.
Yeah.
And incidentally, that was the last time I ran back there because of this experience. But now I'm getting down and beside where my fire pit would be to the west, about 100 meters. And anyway, from the previous podcast, if anybody heard it, and I get to the laneway that goes in between our properties, and I bolted. And now, like, I would have bolted right through where the current family's house is now. I think I went right through, like, I was like, I'm out of here. Fast as I could go. And nothing else happened after that, because I was going to have to turn to the west, and it was coming down south, and it was to the west of me, so I was afraid I was going to be intercepted.
Really?
But nothing happened. Nothing happened. So that was a weird experience, and I always, at the time, I thought, oh my God, I'm being chased by a bear or a cat of some kind, and because there are cougars are reported up in that area, so. And just going forward with the experiences in order, I guess.
Well, let's stop you right there. Let's stop you right there.
Oh, go ahead.
As far as cougars go, if you have a cougar stalking you, chances are you're not going to hear a big cat crashing through the woods.
Yeah.
That's not how they survive. And
right. Well, I was stupid back then.
But yeah, at the same time, it's like, what the hell is going through the friggin' woods like a bulldozer, right?
Yeah, because it was thick brush. It's all thick brush in there in the thick spots. So
yeah,
and, I've been back there since.
You gave me a tour back there, and it's pretty thick, and I try and be quiet, trying to walk through there. And you showed me one particular location along a little stone fence line, and I was having trouble trying to even walk through that.
I remember you.
Yeah, it was too thick.
I was like, what are you doing? What are you going in there for? Because that's where I had to saw the head duck, and we'll get to that in a minute. So.
Yeah, well, I was wearing my Hawaiian T-shirt that day, so I was particularly camouflage. So, yeah. But yeah, that definitely thick woods out there.
Yeah.
So yeah, sorry, I didn't mean.
Well, the brush grows in, right? Like people, it used to be cleared out back when I was a kid, and it's all grown in. Like the old paths that were there are gone. And some of it still exists, but you have. There was a spot back in there where there was an open field. Now I can't even find where that open field would be because that's how much it's grown in. This was the 80s. This was mid 80s, like 85, 86, and there was an open field there. And they probably cleared all that land back in the day for farming, and the farming did happen on our property as well. But and now we've planted trees in there, so it's really grown up in the last 15 years. So, but I guess I'll go forward if you want.
Yeah, for sure.
So it wasn't really, as I said, into Sasquatch at all. It was like more like a UFO thing for me, and I've seen ghosts, and I know you have too, and we'll get into that at some point, I guess.
Oh yeah,
a little bit of that. Just on a quick note, I was doing a theater show in Niagara Falls, and there was a ghost in the theater. They said I was waiting to go on stage waiting for my cue, and I glanced over, and there was a ghost looking over the shoulder of another girl that was reading her script or whatever she was doing. And I picked him out of a lineup of people that were in the theater. It was a fire hall theater. And there was a group of firefighters from the 40s. And I told the stage manager about it, and she was like, here, have a look at this photo. And do you see anybody you recognize? And I was like, well, that's the guy there. She goes, that's the guy who committed suicide in the building. Back in 48, like 1948, I believe. So, anyway.
That's a whole new topic altogether.
That's a whole new topic, yeah. So going forward from there, I was invited by a friend to go up to Ruebottom Lake, Ruebottom Lake.
Where's this located?
And
where's this located at?
This is east of Parry Sound.
Okay.
Now, to get onto this lake, you got to go through a farmer's property, which he allows, of course, he or she. And there's 6 cottages at the time. Now, looking at Google Earth, I think there's more now, but it's very blurry in that section for some reason. So this was 04. I went up, and I had just seen a Sasquatch documentary on TV, and was talking about it on the way up there, funny enough, and talking to the 2 people I was with. And there were 4 of us there that night. Now, it was so quiet there. It wasn't windy. There was 2 girls, 2 guys, and me being one of the guys, of course. You could hear the second girl coming from how many kilometers away? I'm not sure. And it was like, somebody's coming, you can hear the car. Anyway, so that night, me and the other guy, we were sitting in the Muskoka chairs. The fire was burning. The girls were over by the fire. We were sitting with our backs to the road. We were on a hill, so we're looking down a hill towards the lake, and we're on a little plateau where the cottage is to the right. And we could hear something going through the woods behind us, between us and the road. And snap, hear a stick break, and we stop and we turn and look behind us. And of course, we're like 2 feet from the trees and the brush and stuff. You can't see anything anyway. It's dark. We had 4 tiki torches going and the fire going, and that was it. There's no power lines to these cottages. It's all self-contained and off-grid. And so it went like this. Like, did you hear that? Yeah, I heard that. Well, I said, let's keep talking. We'll see if we can hear it move again. And then as I'm saying that, it starts to move. Like it's just, you can hear it stepping slowly or whatever it is, stepping slowly. And I'm like, okay, well, can you hear that? Yeah, I can hear that just fine, the other guy says. And yeah, and you can still hear it. And we're talking away. I said, well, if there anybody here that's out there in the woods can understand English, and you can still hear it moving at this point, don't try and mess with us because we're going to kill you. Being all bravado, right?
Yeah.
But we didn't have any firearms, nothing like that with us. So, anyway, it moved off along the lake and towards, we were the second last cottage from the end, and this is on the northeastern side of that lake. So skip ahead. But 1:30 in the morning, we were still up, a young bunch. We're going into the late night, and we're having drinks, and the other three of them go into the cottage. They're making drinks. I can see them through the window. They're about 10 meters away from me. I start stoking the fire to build it up because we were going to sit out a little bit longer. And this is near to the bottom of the driveway when it comes down the little hill. And there's a utility shed there with some sports equipment and water sport stuff in there. And a big row of wood that had been chopped and was stacked up. Well, 1:30 in the morning, of course, it's dark, and I'm going around the fire, and I got my back to the wood line. This is the direction that whatever was going through the woods was moving anyway. This is probably about 2 or 3 hours later, and I heard, and I stopped, and I was like, what in the hell is that? And I turned around, And I used to tell the story before that I whistled back, but what I actually did was that kissy noise.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I shook my head and I went, I'm fucking drunk. I was like, what the fuck is wrong with me? So it was like, all right, relax. You had a bit to smoke and a lot to drink. So, and then come out of the woods again. So I was like, holy shit. So I went around and sat on the other side of the fire, put the fire between me and that wood line, or the row of wood, and then the forest. And there's probably about 300 feet of forest to the last cottage. And there was nobody on the lake. It was a Sunday night. So I put my hands up below my eyes so I could block out the fire, and I was trying to see if I could see anything. And the lady that owned the place, she comes walking out, and she had her drink in hand or whatever. I'm not looking at her because she's behind me, and she's coming up, and I can hear her, and then, bang, something hit the shed. So she stopped dead. She was about 10, 15 feet behind me. She goes, what was that? I said, I don't know. She goes, go see. I was like, fuck you. I'm not going in there. I was like, do you have a flashlight? I said, and she's like, no, I don't have a flashlight. And I was like, okay, we're so stupid. We don't have any flashlights out here in the woods. And I was like, well, I'm not going in there. So that was it for that night. Everybody came back outside. The other two came up, there was four of us again, and they came back outside. And we sat on the fire, and then whatever, 2, 3, whatever it was, we went to bed. So later on that next day, I got up late. They were already up. They were in a canoe going across the lake. I went down to the dock, and the hill goes up behind me. Still, you're going down a hill to get to that dock from where we were sitting. And I was watching them. They were in a canoe, and I was sitting on the dock and having a cigarette and kept the feeling I'm being watched. So I kept doing this quick look behind me, like, what the hell? And the one time I did it, I could have swore I saw a head duck back behind the tree, one of the trees up the hill. Now, it wasn't focused directly on that spot. It was kind of like in your peripheral vision, like, oh, what was that? Okay, then you focus on that spot. And now to close out this story, on the third night we were there, there was no bathroom facilities in that cottage. There was an outhouse. And that was up the driveway past that wood, the wood pile in the shed. And I had to go pee, of course, and I wasn't going to go up there. I'm just going to pee off straight off the front step.
Right.
What am I doing? So I do my business, and I go back up into the loft, and the bed is right next to the window, and I heard, that type of moaning and crying for like 2-3 minutes. And I had my ears cupped. I was right up against that screen, listening to it, going, no friggin' way am I having this experience. Now, funny, it's so thick there. We saw a moose out in the canoe, and probably in that same day, the day before this night, and her head was stuck up through this long, she was right at the water's edge, and there was long grass. I want to say kelp, but it's not kelp. Growing in there, and you could only see her head for this huge moose. And she turned and ran, and she was gone in seconds. We couldn't see her. And so that was it for that experience. And that was, I haven't been up there since. I'm not sure if she still has the cottage. I asked her a number of years ago, and she said, yeah, they still had it. But I could ask her again. But
are you
going forward?
Are you still in contact with this?
Yeah, we're Facebook friends. We used to hang out all the time. We worked together at a store in Toronto one time for a number of years, and she ended up leaving before me. But she moved out to BC, but now she's back in Toronto.
So what's your thoughts on what you suspect it is, or you guys didn't really talk too much about it?
No, we didn't talk about it. I thought Sasquatch, because we weren't too far from 3 Mile Lake, which was to the south.
Mm-hmm.
And I had spent actually some time on 3 Mile Lake back in 2007, but it's all built up now. But there was a report that came in from there. It's on BFRO, if I'm not mistaken, that somebody had seen one back in, like, I think 1978.
So okay.
And so we weren't. Anyway, it's Rousseau. You go through Rousseau, Euford, and stuff there in that area. But I guess going forward, I lived in Toronto for 9 years. Loved the city.
I feel sorry.
Didn't want to move.
I feel sorry for you.
Yeah, I love the city. Didn't want to move back. But things were going on. I had an ailing parent, and I wasn't really doing too well up there anyway. Financially, it was just, paycheck to paycheck. So it was like, move home, get your debts cleared, help out with the ailing family member, and it's a big house. It can hide in there somewhere. So I was sitting outside on 06. It was a Wednesday night. The sun was down. It was, I believe, July or August, so it would have to be after 10:30. And this is where the current house is now, and this is where I have my fire pit 150 meters back from the back of the house, back in the woods. I cut out an area in there where us guys used to, and anybody else, girls too at times, we'd sit back there if we were going to have some drinks or smokes and put up our tents and just stay back there and not bother anybody at the house because my mom and dad were still there at that time. But anyway, 06, I was sitting outside of the garage on the back man door, not the garage door, and it's to the north, and I was sitting on a patio slab on a foldable chair, and I was just, having a cigarette, and I get like just to my right. I was facing west. I was like, what the hell? And that's again a slight mound in that field that goes back to my fire pit, so you can't see the fire pit area we could see the top of the trees, of course, and this was before the trees were planted. They're in there now. And now I hate to think about how things can sneak up on the house now, but anyway, I get the growl, so I was like, oh, come on. I thought it was my cousin. He lives 2 doors over. They have access to the same field, and we're back in off the road. And they're up at the road level, right next to the road. And I thought he came down this little bridge that they made back in the 80s, and that he snuck around and came up to try and scare me because we'd already talked about Sasquatch at that point. And he told me about a little experience. He told me about his experience back there hunting. It got screamed at, and he was up in a tree stand. Just as I digress for a second, he was up in a tree stand. He was getting screamed at, so screw this. He got down and got on his quad and went into the field because he was, of course, in the tree line. And he went through the field into the next field through the rock fence, and then he saw what he thought was somebody standing in a ghillie suit, just covered in hair, standing there looking at him, and he just bolted. Mm-hmm. He took off in his quad. And he burst into tears when he told me that. And I was just like, okay, just relax, man, So that conversation had come up. And so I thought it was him back there trying to mess with me. And anyway, so I got up, and I started to walk in that direction to see if I could call a bluff. And I heard run away, like sticks breaking, like grass moving and stuff, and I heard 2-foot bipedal running. So I was like, okay. So I'm going to go down to the garage now, the other garage that's not attached to the house. It's a great big garage.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but what time of the day or night was this?
So this was I think I already mentioned it was after sundown. It was well after 10:30 in a July-August night.
Uh-huh.
So it had to be 11:30, 12. I don't think I was up there much later than that because I was working the next day. And I went down to the other garage, and I bought in Kingston at Costco. I bought a 30 million candle power spotlight. This thing had to be a foot across.
Nice.
So I brought it back up to the house and to the top of the hill and went back to my spot, and I was shining that light to the field in the direction of where I heard the foot stomping and the growling. Well, I shined it to the west, and in the next field, beyond another rock fence that surrounds this particular field that we built the house in, I could see eye shine up on top of the next mound. So I'm like, what the hell? So I had it on it for a second. I said, okay, I don't want it to go away. So I started to move the light left and right while keeping my eyes on the eye shine.
Right.
Well, I watched the eye shine go back and forth with my light. I was like, what the hell is following the light? It's following where I'm pointing the light. And, of course, time rolls on. I had to stop what I was doing and then retire for bed. But I had the windows open. It was summertime, of course. And later that night, I was awoken to a scream in the woods. Now, what does it sound like? I was half asleep. But it woke me up. That was 06.
Have you ever compared anything like on YouTube or anything as far as the scream or the what you heard that night?
Well, the growl is like any other growl you might hear on Facebook and stuff like that, or on Facebook, but on YouTube or anything like that. But again, the scream that woke me up, I couldn't be sure of the audio of that. So it was just like, what was that? It was like, 2:00 in the morning. I think I checked my phone.
So getting back to the eye shine, what color?
What color?
Yeah.
Yellow red. It was yellow. It wasn't really red, just depending on when it looked, depending on how the light hit the eyes, it seemed. It just was like yellow red. So it wasn't bright white. It was like a paler yellow and type of red. So that had happened, and so let's skip ahead to the next incident. Aside from the thumps on the house, at times oh no, okay, here comes my family. They're coming in the house. We might have to cut this off. Yeah.
Oh, no worries.
Okay. Let me go upstairs. So there'd be a thump on the house, but I'd go outside and there'd be no rocks or anything like that on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
So I always wondered if there was rock throwing and stuff like that going on, but I never saw anything outside. And then the next day, but it was always at the back corner of the house, going up towards that fire pit. And it could have been the house settling. It was built in 02, right? It could have been anything, and that's what I always chalk it up to, just the house, like something in the foundation going down a bit or whatever. But, going ahead, I guess it was 2013. It was February. And I was, at that point, let me go back. Let me dial it back a bit. It was in 2012 when my dad's getting up there. He's a hunter. He's got lots of guns. Not lots, but he's got like a handful of guns. And so I got my firearms license so that if he passed for any reason, whatever, I could keep the guns to my own possession. Sorry, I'm joking here a bit.
Yeah.
But my best friend and I were back at the fire pit, and we had been back there for 2-3 hours. We were having drinks and having smokes and enjoying our time together. And I hadn't seen him in a couple of years at that point. The fire was dying down, and we didn't want to put more wood on. I said, well, let's just go back to the house and put some water on the fire to dull it, and walk back up the path. And there's 2 paths back there anyway, but we were on the eastern path, and we were coming back to the house, and my best friend stops as I'm talking. I'm like, what's going on? And he's like, something's following us. And I look back, and I have pretty good, I think, night vision, and I'm looking at the leaves. I can't see any dark figures or anything in front of the leaves of the trees that is getting a bit of light from the sky from Belleville. And I don't see anything, and come on, let's go. So we keep going, and then he stops again and turns around. He goes, no, something's following us. I'm like, okay. I don't see anything, and we're stopped, we're listening, and nothing's making any noise. All right, well, screw it. So we went back to the house, and nothing else after that. Well, the next day, I get a call from one of my cousins, and he says, I can't give you too much details because I'll be giving away the location, but he got called from a friend on the underlying road to the west that he saw a cougar jump over the fence onto my property. So I wasn't sure. So I'm not sure if it was a cougar or maybe a Bigfoot, who knows. But I was just like, let's get the hell out of here.
Did he?
That was my feeling.
Did he say what color it was?
The puma, the mountain lion.
Yeah.
Well, no, he didn't say what color it was, but I was just assuming it was your regular Steve French from Trailer Park Boys, of course, reference, but just your regular color. And anyway, so 2013, I'm back February. It's a 1 or 2 degree day. Of course, there's still snow, and I was following the tracks, and I loaded up a shotgun, and just with bird shots, not like I was out there with anything else, and just in case something started to screw with me, I could, put some bird shot in its eyes, and because there are bears there. I've got them on the trail camera several times.
Yep.
And so it's February, they're probably harboring anything anyway. I wasn't too worried about it, but I was following the tracks, like coyote tracks, some raccoon here and there. And I get back to that second field beyond where I'd seen the eye shine, and there's a trail entrance there. And I get right into the trailhead. The rock fence is on either side of me that you walked along.
Mm-hmm.
And to my right, to the east, I hear... so I stopped dead. And then pause. Go to step. So I stop, and I'm like, okay, what the hell was that? So I'm looking around with my eyes, not moving my head. I'm standing completely still as best I can. And I keep hearing it, this little hit that's off to my right. It's along the rock fence. So I went, what the hell? So I look up in the trees, because we do have fissures there, and those are like a wolverine to those who don't know. But I look up in the tree to make sure there's nothing above me, and I'm looking around, and okay, I don't see anything. So I go again, and I hear the hits even more. So I stop and stood there for about 5 or 10 minutes. And I said, screw this. I turned around and went back along the side of the field and to the western side of the field, because you don't walk through the middle of the field. And I did what I did up in Ruebottom Lake. Turned my head around quick and had a look, and I saw a head duck behind the fence, the rock fence. There was no leaves. It was snow in the background behind that rock fence, so you could clearly see the head duck. Now, it wasn't directly focused on that point again. It was like a foot or two off from where I was actually focused on. So you clearly see that in your peripheral, boom, the head go down. I was like, what the hell was that?
Did you catch a color? Well, what kind of color did it stick
black,
out?
Just completely black.
Black, okay.
So I was just like, okay. And now I've told the story before to other friends, and they're like, well, maybe it's a hunter. And I'm like, well, why the hell would they be on my property in February? One, I didn't see any other footprints from humans, and it was their boot prints. And if they were there, why wouldn't the hell would they just let me go by and get the hell out of there? And maybe it was a kid from a nearby house or something like that. And I was just like, there was no toucan, there was no pom-pom at the top. It could have been, I guess. But I was just, again, why wouldn't you just let me go by and then get the hell off my property? And why would you, and why when I'm walking out there with a shotgun in hand, would you go and start hissing at me?
Well,
why would you do that?
You gave me a tour of the area. It's not a highly populated area like a suburb or anything like that. You're out in the country pretty much. So yeah. No, I totally understand. It's just kind of weird, if you ask me. Definitely.
So that was that, and then I just went back to the house. Like, what am I going to do? Start firing? Like, what if it is a person? You got to know what you're firing at if you're going to shoot. Sure. So, but it's probably about 3 years later. I had moved away at the end of 2013 down here to Burlington, Ontario area, which is near where you are, and your roots go back up into Hastings, and that's, for the listeners, that's how we've connected. So I guess it was 2016, my brother gives me a call in August, and he goes, last night I was out on the deck. I came home from a barbecue, and I grabbed a beer, and I grabbed a cigarette, and I was sitting down on the deck. And when we're there, that's basically where you're doing. You're sitting on that deck. It's beautiful. So he was out there, and he had no lights on, and he was just sitting there enjoying himself, and he heard growling from the tree line. the rock fence area to the east on my neighbor's property, which is the same spot, like just not too far from that same laneway that I used to run on back in '95. So he's a non-believer, and he calls me an idiot. But that night, I think he might have gotten a little bit of belief going, because he said it growled for about 20 minutes here and there, off and on. And he put his flashlight on his phone up. Couldn't see anything in the yard. Now, from the deck to the rock fence and to the tree line, it's probably about 30 feet. And it was on the other side, he said. So that had happened to him. So, and it was probably another month later, we were south of that road, again, without naming the road that we come off of, without giving the location. We were looking for wellheads in on a piece of property that the old man was selling. And so these wellheads were drilled in the 90s, early 90s. And in the southwest corner, like, my brother managed to get ahead of me, and I had stopped looking at something, the wellhead, and like looking for whatever I don't remember exactly what I was looking at, but probably for signs of tracks and stuff like that. And there was a loud limb break. I was just probably about 20 meters away. And I couldn't see anything. I looked in that direction, couldn't see anything. And I just smart-assedly waved, "Hi," and kept going. So that's just a limb break. It was a loud crack break, and there was no wind that day. There might have been a slight wind, but it was nothing to bring a tree down. But
yeah,
then again, trees fall in the forest.
I was about to interject. I was going to say, let me guess. It was no wind day, good weather, but you get a limb.
Yeah, it was good. It was a nice day. Nice day. We were out there. Why else would I? We're not going to walk over there in the rain, or during a storm. So we went over there. Anyway, but the next morning we went back to clear out some grass and stuff with the sides, and nothing happened that day. So it's not like things happen all the time.
Yeah. No.
But I guess the last experience was, if I'm not forgetting anything else, aside from the odd dump on the house or something back there, it's like, we're back at the fire pit. You hear something snapping twigs in the wood in the tree line, and what the hell is that? Let's get the hell out of here. And I've been back there once. Took my shotgun with me, actually, at night, and that's not legal. I shouldn't do that. And that was the last time I did it, incidentally. This was years ago. But I was going back there to burn some paper waste and like flyers and stuff like that. And that leads into my second, the last encounter last October. Hold on.
Oh, so this is like fairly recent.
Yeah, well, that was this time before last October was like I felt like seriously like I was being watched, and that's what I brought up to you the last couple of weeks when we were talking.
Yeah.
So, and then I ended up getting up and leaving. So I was like, okay, I'm leaving. I'm just like, and I've been back there 100 times, like just doing that, and that was the time that it was the strongest that I felt like I was being watched. So the last experience. This is in Thurlow Township, of course, if I haven't mentioned. I went back to the fire pit. This time I drove my van back because I had a load of, in a yard bag, some flyers and some paper towels and stuff like that, used napkins and stuff like that. I didn't take it back and burn it and enjoy myself. Nobody else wanted to go. I was going alone. And that is on the Hastings County Sasquatch page. It's in the first few, first 2 or 3 or whatever at this point. And, now I scanned the area when I got there, looking around, make sure there's nothing looking at me, and I, started the fire and was sitting there with a broomstick, standing there with my back to the house. I was looking north and looking at the fire. There was a loud snap behind me, and I turned and swing like DiMaggio. Like I was like, "What the?" And there was nothing there. So looking back to the fire, and I glanced up into the right corner, to the northwest corner, and there's a trail starts there. And now it's dusk. Everything over there is in shadow except for some of the forest and behind it, where the light is actually getting through. The sun is down. And I swear to God, there's a head looking over top of this bush. And the top of the bush fans out like bird's wings. And of course, there's this head looking over it. And I was like, I didn't see that before. What the hell is that doing there? What the hell? I'm looking. And
how tall is this bush you're talking? How tall is this bush?
Probably about my waist height, probably about 2 feet.
Okay.
So if there was something behind it, it was crouched down.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah, I know.
Peeking at me, and I was just like, I couldn't see eyes, just see this mound. What the hell am I really seeing this? And then, of course, the fire starts to wane a bit, and then so I've got to get all the stuff burned, and so I start to mix it around, and then I look away, and I start mixing the fire back, and I look back, and it was gone. Just the bush was still there.
You don't know how many other stories I've heard from other people about it being crouched down, look away for just a second, and boom, they're gone, just like that. So
yeah.
Oh yeah.
But that's it. That's it. So we're coming into, this is May 1st, and I haven't been up there since, and I'd be good to get back up that way. And maybe you'd like to join me for a camp out back in the fire pit there.
Yeah, I was hoping you'd invite me.
Yeah, I think we could do that. And, I don't know. Oh yeah, one thing I forgot to mention about that was, and it's in the report on Facebook there, is that I went back and in my head, because they say there's a little bit of mind speak or telepathy with these beings. I said, I'm coming back to burn some fire, burn some waste, burn some garbage. I said in my head, I want to see you. Please don't scare me. Okay. But I want to see you. I don't have a gun. I'm not here to hurt. And I try to keep my words simple.
Yep.
And yeah, then that whole thing happened. I saw the head, what I think was a head peeking over the bush, and then it was gone when I looked away. I looked away and then looked back. So I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, there are some things about these creatures we don't know yet. And I think there's a little bit more than just, flesh and blood. Yeah, I'll back you up on the mind speak thing.
Yeah.
But, we have to get into that a little later on another podcast. But, yeah, definitely. But we're just about out of time anyways. We're running a little bit over than what we want to be. But, yeah.
Well, that's pretty much it. Let's call it a day. But that's pretty much it on the property. I may have, aside from the Bolter experience where it walked right across the road, that's a confirmed sighting in my head.
Yeah.
Aside from the eye shine and the head ducking behind the fence and this dome-shaped thing looking over the bush, I may have seen it 4 times. So, but the first time for sure, absolutely. But it's there's not much to, it's who knows? It's usually the summertime.
Now, our last little podcast we were talking about the area of Cooper. Like, how long of drive from that location by your fire pit to Cooper? I'm just curious.
Probably about 45 minutes.
Yeah, I figured that.
Because it's in between us and Bancroft.
Yeah.
So Bancroft, again, I haven't been up to Bancroft since 1990 or something like that. So
it probably still looks the same. I think they still have the Dixie Lee there.
Well, I should stop in for some chicken. I haven't had Dixie Lee in a long time.
Anyhow, I think we're pretty much there as far as time wise. I think we can't really go too far over. It'll take forever to upload this thing, but
I'm done anyway. It's running late and I'm running behind, so
no worries. But yeah, until next time.
Okay.
Thanks for joining in, everybody, and we'll try and get something else going. Hopefully, we get some more.
Yeah, well, next time we'll do your experiences, even though they are posted on Hastings County Sasquatch episode 618 of. Fill me in here. Why am I drawing a blank? Sasquatch Chronicles.
Yeah, there, and also another new friend I made, Nicola Valley Sasquatch. I just did an interview with him not too long ago. So, yeah, you can go and check him out. He's on Spotify, too. Pretty good guy. He had his own experience, and his brother, who was an RCMP officer, was right there too. So, yeah. Even though apparently we're not cops or anything, but these guys have more credibility than us, and this was at BC. So,
yeah.
But anyhow, yeah, a lot of people are skeptical.
Let's call it a night.
Until you see one, you won't believe your eyes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You don't think they're there. You think they might be, but then when you do see one, oh, WTF.
Well, I think a lot of people have passed by them hundreds of times, especially the outdoorsmen, and not even realized it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. There was one time coming back, I was back in the woods, shotgun in hand, just out for a walk, and as I'm stepping, something else is stepping with me, and I stopped, and it stopped, and this was another time, but I actually identified what it was. It was a grouse hen stopping and walking every time. So little I saw her, and I was like, oh, there you are. Yeah. So,
all right, Mr. D. I think we'll...
all right, Chris, you have a great night, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah, and hopefully we can get some more of those witnesses on for a...
yeah, if anybody that has an experience, please submit, and we'll keep location and your anonymity guaranteed.
You got it.
Keep the location secret, of course.
Till next time, we'll talk to you guys later.
Good night.